Well, I'm joined now by Nabila Ramdani, who is an author and journalist following events in Egypt closely. This is a fascinating one, Nabila, isn't it? We've asked for people to comment on Facebook. We've had hundreds of people reply. Let's just bring in some of the comments that we've received already. Said Ahmed said she actually represents the average Egyptian woman. She looks like 60% of Egyptian women her age. Mohammed Ahmed says real leaders don't care about their appearance. She is a woman behind a successful leader. And we've got a couple more, but this one as well. Latoya says what matters is her role as First Lady. Appearance is secondary. It's really not the issue. That is predominantly some of the feeling, that we shouldn't be worried about her appearance, but nonetheless, a huge topic on social networking sites.
Yes, indeed, and it has to be noted that the fears or the criticism voiced about Egypt's first new lady have mainly come from urbanite circles, secularists, and indeed Christian circles. But let's not forget that Egypt is predominantly a Muslim majority country. It's a conservative country as well. So in that respect, the new First Lady typically embodies the conservatism of her country in her modesty, the modest way she dresses, her modest financial background as well, and more generally her attitude and her demeanour. Let's not also forget that the Arab Spring is all about putting regular people in office, and in that respect, the new First Lady typically embodies the plight and is deeply connected with the millions of Egyptian women who do not live in Cairo but live in the provinces, in rural areas. She's not sitting in the background. She has been also massively involved in the campaigning with her husband. She accompanied him to rallies. She mingled with the crowds, and she didn't ask for special seating or special treatment as well. And she's been also involved since her husband has been elected, giving interviews to international media, but also meeting people in different charities, and also meeting the families of the victims of the protesters who have been killed, for example.
Well, let's have a look at some of the people that she's being compared to, the other First Ladies, of course. Here is Suzanne Mubarak here, of course. Now, do you think one of the issues here is that she had a university degree, she was highly visible? I mean, there are clear differences between the two women.
Yes, very much so. I mean, Suzanne Mubarak, just like previous First Ladies in Egypt, Jihan Sadat, the wife of late President Anwar al-Sadat, they had in common to have a British mother, for example. They had a higher education, they were glamorous, elegantly groomed in all circumstances. And this is a sharp contrast with the new
we
First
can also
Lady.
see, look at al-Assad, of course, here, spent many of her years in Britain as well. Another comparison that's being made, but it's not a fair one, is it?
It's not a fair one, and that's also, I think, a myth and needs to be debunked as well. This idea that Suzanne Mubarak was deeply popular is also not a real fact in Egypt. Suzanne Mubarak was mainly associated with an elite. She was perceived as arrogant. Herself and the president, former President Hosni Mubarak, contributed to enrich a very small number of people. So she was not popular with the masses at all, and she didn't connect with the masses of Egyptian women.
We've got another Facebook comment here, though, that is from Kamika, who says that I think being the First Lady is an honourable position. Many young ladies like to emulate and use them as role models. So her status as a role model is obviously being looked at. But is the role of women changing in Egypt under the new president? Is the face of Egypt changing?
Yes, and I think it's going back to the very roots of what Egypt is all about. When the new First Lady says that she wants to be the first servant, she means, and she said it quite clearly, the first servant of the people. And that's really what leaders should be about. Her husband has, of course, been the first democratically elected president in decades. And that's what the democratically leaders are about. They should serve the people first and foremost.
Is there an issue in Egypt at the moment about the wearing of the headscarf, and is that going to change, Nabila?
I think there's an issue about the wearing of the niqab, not necessarily the headscarf that the new First Lady is wearing. And perhaps some of the concerns are that Egypt should turn into a much more conservative society like Saudi Arabia. But of course, this is not the case as far as the new First Lady is concerned. She doesn't wear the full veil. Her face is clearly visible, and she seems to interact well with everybody.
So many of the comments are about her looking like people's mothers and grandmothers, 60% of them in Egypt. But what about this title of First Lady? It's a very Western concept anyway. Is it one that the Arab world want to embrace?
Well, that's a very interesting point, because Naglaa Ali Mahmoud, she said she doesn't want to be called the First Lady. She said being the wife of the new president doesn't make you First Lady anyway. And I think in that respect, this is quite revolutionary and very much ties in with the spirit of the Arab Spring, to get rid of, you know, everything that's foreign. We've seen how the Egyptian people were keen not to get foreign government involved in what they saw as a domestic matter. And really, it's a new definition of what Egypt should be about.
Okay, and let's just return to Tahrir Square if we can, very briefly as well, to show you the thousands of people that are waiting to hear their new president and his wife, who I'm sure will be there as well. That's going to be happening in a few hours' time, about an hour and a half, and we will bring you that speech with Lise Doucette on the Hub coming up. For joining us with your thoughts.
Thank you.